In this video, we are going to be looking at the theme of redemption in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So we're going to start off first for making sure we understand what is redemption. What does the word actually mean? Quite simply, it is the forgiveness of sin, and it is usually in exchange for some kind of payment or the clearing of a debt of some kind. So why do we need to know this word? Well, it is kind of the point of the novel. Okay? The whole point, the whole engagement with the reader is whether or not Scrooge can actually change. We meet him at the start of the novel as very solitary, very greedy old man, and we think, is it even possible for this man to change? Obviously, we realise he does change towards the end, which is fabulous. But how does this happen? And it's through two really important things, and Dickens has made very deliberate choices about how it happens. It happens through the intervention of the ghosts and through choice. The ghosts show Scrooge things that help him realise his own flaws, and he comes to his own conclusion of what he needs to do. They don't tell him what to do. Each ghost shows him something different and teaches him something new, which all help build towards this realisation of what he's done wrong and how he can change it. So they all show him something important about him before. At no point is he forced to change. He decides his own course of action. Okay? He is the one who chooses to go with these ghosts. At no point is he told what he must do. He's invited. The ghost of Christmas Past says, "Rise and walk with me." He doesn't drag him along, he gives him the choice, and Scrooge chooses to follow them. This goes back to Dickens' idea of responsibility and personal responsibility for change. Scrooge says, "I know your purpose is to do me good. As I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company." Scrooge is taking personal responsibility for his actions and for what he needs to do to change. His redemption comes from the fact he chooses to learn from what he sees. He doesn't just take these visions and then forget about them. He accepts what he's done is wrong and he chooses to change. He says, "I will not shut out the lessons that they have taught the ghosts." He chooses to take them on board and change. He embraces his own emotions, which leads to empathy, which allows him to feel redemption. Okay? Empathy being understanding and sharing the feelings of others. So he embraces his emotions, he feels this empathy, and this allows him to redeem himself. He says, in pity for his former self, "Poor boy," and cried again. He feels sorry for himself, he feels sorry for the choir boy he sent away on Christmas Eve. As he says, it's too late now. He feels like it's happened, he can't change it. He looks back at how Fezziwig's actions impacted him in a positive way, saying he has the power to render us happy or unhappy, which makes him realise how Bob must be feeling. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. So by reflecting on the positive impact of Fezziwig's actions, he realises the impact his negative actions must be having on people. And obviously there's a great amount of fear that he feels, which leads him to want to change. "Tell me, I may sponge away the writing on this stone." He does not want his death to be forgotten about, to be missed by everybody. We also have, once again, Tiny Tim is key again to Scrooge's redemption. He witnesses the love between this small boy and his family, a love and a relationship that he didn't have with his own father. And it hits him hard. It says Bob held his withered hand in his as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side. He's looking in on this relationship that he never had and almost sees himself in this child. He says, "Tell me if Tiny Tim will live." That's what he cares about most when it comes to the ghost of Christmas present and meeting the Cratchits. He says to the final ghost, "Are these the shadows of things that will be or are they the shadows of the things that may be? It's this impact on Tiny Tim, this innocent soul, that is what truly makes him want to change. This is the real turning point of the novel, the moment when he realises he has to do something to stop innocent lives being lost. So back to Marley's ghost just for a moment. Marley's ghost is really important here as a symbol of redemption and of penitence. So Marley's change has come too late. He only realises after he has died that he has not done enough. He says, "Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down?" It's now that he is dead and gone that he realises he ignored the people who really needed his help the most. And so he has to do penance in death for the misdeeds of his life. He says him helping Scrooge is no light part of his penance. So in order to gain forgiveness for his sins, he now has to help Scrooge realise before it's too late. All of this adds up and gives us a juxtaposed kind of structure. So the beginning of the novel is in direct opposition to the end of the novel. This shows the extent of the change Scrooge has gone through. He is literally the opposite at the end as to how he starts. So he starts off the novel saying things like, "Every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart." Really violent imagery. Really the opposite of the Victorian ideals of Christmas. He is as far away from the idea of Christmas spirit as you can possibly get. And yet in the final stave, he says to Bob, "A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have ever given you for many a year." So he has totally changed. He's done a 360. He is the opposite of the person he was at the start. If this craggy, grumbly old man can change, there's hope for anybody in society. Even the narrator's tone changes from the final stanza, from the first one. So in the beginning, when we first meet Scrooge, it is lists and lists of different adjectives, all meaning the same thing, but painting a very vivid picture. So a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Adjective after adjective describing how awful this person is. Compared to the end, when he's complimentary of Scrooge, and it's repetition of a single positive adjective. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew. So we even have a change in techniques from listing to repetition to show the difference from beginning to end. So I hope all that's made sense to you. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments or send me a message. Thank you very much for listening.